Hello, friends of faith and those curious about spiritual paths. Prepare yourselves for a story that will touch your souls deeply and perhaps ignite or rekindle a flame that many of us have allowed to fade. Imagine a silent testimony of devotion, an unbreakable bond of hope that repeated itself day after day, under the watchful eye of a blessed image, defying time, cold, fatigue, and above all doubt. It is an event that makes us reflect on the true strength of prayer and the power of perseverance, showing that faith is not just a feeling but a constant action. As we unravel this inspiring journey, I ask that you not keep this light to yourself. Write in the comments now the names of people and relatives who need prayer, and with God's permission, we will include all these names in our main prayer with the Rosary, entrusting them to the intercession of Our Lady. In a city whose daily pace was fast-paced, where people barely had time for a lingering glance at the sky, there was a man who made his routine a living testament. He would arise every day, punctually, even before the first rays of sunlight broke through the morning mist or after dusk embraced the city, and would go straight to a specific spot. A wooden bench, worn by time and constant presence, positioned beside the serene statue of the Virgin Mother, who with her blue cloak seemed to embrace all yearnings. There, unhurriedly, without visible distractions, he would sit. His gaze, deep and filled with a mixture of weariness and indomitable hope, would fix on the sculpted face of the image, and in silence, almost in an inaudible whisper, he would entrust his greatest treasures. His children, each with their own lives, challenges and paths, with each new dawn and each new dusk. This man, with his simple clothing and humble demeanor, carried in every gesture and prayer the weight of an intensely lived fatherhood, and the awareness that, in many ways, the world offered more dangers than protection. It was not an empty prayer, but an outpouring of his soul, where he entrusted his concerns for the future of his children, the faith to guide them on the right path, protection from the pitfalls and dangers that lurked, and the wisdom to enable them to make wise decisions. Every fiber of his being was dedicated to that moment of communion, and in the tranquility of his retreat, he found a strength that not even life's greatest storms dared to shake, for his intercession for his children was the anchor that kept his own vessel safe. The seasons passed, and with them came the harshness of winter, with rains that seemed to test the firmness of his resolve, and the scorching heat of summer, which enveloped him in a humid and tiring embrace. Passers-by, some curious, others in a hurry, noticed the constant presence of that man and his stool. Some whispered about the eccentricity of his devotion, perhaps with a touch of veiled mockery, while others, more sensitive, admired the unwavering faith reflected in his stillness. Few, in fact, understood the depth of his commitment or the magnitude of the fatherly love that compelled him to never miss a single day, remaining there, under the statue's benevolent eyes, a beacon of hope for his loved ones. There were days when physical exhaustion seemed to want to overcome his spirit. His joints ached, his body begged for rest, and his inner voice whispered temptations for him to stay home, just for that day. But all it took was a moment of remembering his children's faces, their smiles, the challenges they faced, and the image of the Virgin Mother's mantle hovering in his mind, for renewed strength to compel him to go. It was an internal battle fought and won with every step, every meter walked to the stool, and each time he rested there, he felt the image itself receive him and in silence, listen attentively to his pleas, transforming his exhaustion into yet another offering of love. That father's faith was not manifested in shouts, spectacular miracles, or impassioned speeches, but in the purest persistence, in the constancy of a heart that refused to doubt divine protection, even when the answers seemed delayed or not as he expected. He didn't ask for obvious miracles, but rather for wisdom, discernment, peace, and that his children would be instruments of good. And little by little, though imperceptibly to the unwary eye, a veil of tranquility began to spread over his family. His children found solutions to seemingly insurmountable problems, overcame challenges with remarkable resilience, and a sense of peace and purpose seemed to guide their steps, demonstrating that their father's silent prayers were weaving a tapestry of blessings over their lives. Thus, without much fanfare or spotlight, that man became a symbol, a living urban legend, the father who never lost his faith and who day after day testified to a distracted world of the inestimable power of prayer. His children, as they grew older, might not fully understand the impact of his daily dedication, but they felt a kind of invisible protection, an unwavering support that buoyed them forward. And many of the passers-by who previously viewed him with disinterest over the years began to find in that man and his stool an oasis of hope, an inspiration to not lose faith in the face of adversity, understanding that true spiritual strength lies in persistence and the purest and most sincere devotion. This story of the Father and his stool, under the gaze of the Virgin, invites us to look within ourselves and reflect on the quality and constancy of our own prayers amidst the whirlwind of modern life. How often do we let haste, disbelief, or discouragement distance us from that essential stillness, that communion that strengthens us? Like the Father, we are called to cultivate faith every day, to persevere in prayer, not only for our loved ones, but also for a forgiving heart, for inner peace, for more conversions, for an unshakable faith that helps us forgive and move forward. This is the silent preaching that echoes in each of his prayers. Think of the people in your life, your friends, your family, those who are lost or experiencing hardship. Now, once again I ask you, comment on the names of those who need prayer, and with divine permission and the intercession of the Virgin Mary, we will include them all in our main prayer with the Rosary, trusting that this chain of faith will bring the necessary blessings. What powerful lesson do you take from this story of devotion and perseverance? What struck you most about this father's attitude? Leave your comments below, share your reflections, and if this message touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that strengthen our faith. May God and the Virgin Mary bless you all.